Hello everyone, Simon Bard here, and welcome to another movie review. After Walt Disney passed away in 1966, his animation studio was making films that went from being okay to being not okay. From 1967 to 1985, these films would recycle animation from previous films, not have much character or story, and the makers just did whatever they want. Though once in a while they make one that's pretty good. But then in 1986, they made a movie that not only brought the studio back on its feet, but it also gained a following. And this movie is known as The Great Mouse Detective, or The Adventures of the Great Mouse Detective as said on the poster and the opening title. The movie is based on the book Basil Baker Street, written by Eve Titus with illustrations by Paul Gladon, which itself is based, or parodies, on the stories of Sherlock Holmes. And it's quite fun to see that Basil's home is a part of Sherlock Holmes' estate. But let's get to the review. A young girl named Olivia Flowersham has come to see a detective named Basil, or Basil Baker Street, to help her find her father, a toy maker named Hiram Flowersham, who's been kidnapped by a peg-legged bat named Fidget, who works for a criminal mastermind named Professor Ratigan, who uses Hiram to create a robotic replica of the Queen in order for him to be ruler of all mice. And trying to explain that last part is a bit hard for me because of how weak it sounds. But it somehow works, and the rest of the film is all fun and enjoyable and even funny. With its fun music by composer Henry Mancini that would go from being adventurous to silly, while still having an upbeat feel to it all. And despite not being a musical, there's only 3 songs in this. The World's Greatest Criminal Mind, sung by Ratigan and his gang, Let Me Be Good to You, sung by a mouse by the name of Miss Kitty, and Goodbye So Soon, sung by Ratigan near the climax, and again during the end credits. Each of them are fun in their own way, and at times are memorable when thinking of them. And the animation itself is a real joy to watch. Most of it is very comical and fast-paced, though it does look a bit dark and dirty at times, considering most of the film takes place at night. But it's the comic expressions and actions of the characters that sold it for me, mixed with its cartoonish feel and all. And one of my favorite scenes in the film is the climax. All of it taking place inside Big Ben and out, when Ratigan reveals his true self up to his demise, with Disney's early use of integrating CGI and hand-drawn characters, which would be improved a few years later. It's fun action, and is handled very well from beginning to end. And the film's fun is all the more enjoyable with its characters. Basil is my favorite in this film. Just seeing him deduce evidence and being egotistical and eccentric every time is pretty amazing and funny. And all the rest of the characters are pretty good too. Dawson, Olivia, Hiram, and even Ratigan, who I mentioned before on my top 10 favorite animated Disney villains list. But again, he's still a fun villain, and a second favorite in the film. And these characters are given really good actors doing the voices. Vincent Price voices Professor Ratigan, Barry Ingham voices Basil Baker Street and Bartholomew, Val Benton voices Dr. David Q. Dawson, Alan Young voices Hiram Faversham, Candy Cadito voices Fidget, Eve Brenner voices the Mouse Queen, and Olivia Flowersham is voiced by Suzanne Plastic. As a whole, this movie is quite fun. The characters are great, the story is good, and the animation is fun all around. Directors Ron Clements, John Musker, Bernie Matheson, and David Mincher made a fun and adventurous mystery with all its wondrous characters, funny moments, and a pretty good mix of comedy, mystery, adventure, and a bit of action. And it all comes from the studio that had mice in starring roles, which had been done previously. So today, this movie will be given a rating of 3.5 stars. Thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Facebook or Twitter, and tune in next week for a new video. Olivia, and Olivia, and Olivia, and Olivia, and Olivia, and Olivia, and Olivia Flaversham is voiced by Suzanne Polestek. If I got that right.